Today we're here with Louie Lodes. He's from Liberty Pawn in Fairview Heights, Illinois. How are you today, Louie?
I'm doing great.
Now, tell us a little bit about your shop, how long you've been there, how many employees you have.
Sure. Been here about going on 3 years now. My wife and I own the shop. We have a mutual friend who was in the pawn business, and so kind of picked his brain, and we started our shop. And one of the first things we had to do, as you know, is pick out some software to do business.
Now, I understand that you had tried a competitor's software before, prior to coming on board with PawnMaster. Which one did you use, and what made you change?
I knew next to nothing about, point of sale software and pawn software, and I got on the internet and started trying to do some research, and pretty soon, price was a factor, and I thought, well, how difficult can it be, So I went with one of the less expensive upfront, I will put it that way, less expensive software programs called Pawn Wizard. And I noticed that they were considerably cheaper than some of the others. So I, not being very knowledgeable about pawn software, decided, money was a big concern and went with Pawn Wizard. So it did not take real long. Once we got in, we got the Pawn Wizard uploaded, and as we began doing pawns, and of course we encountered some problems with the software, and we had their extra package they sold to us for their support, and got, it would be, I would say, sometimes a full day, sometimes 2 days, sometimes 3 days for them to get back to us with an issue. And anyone who's ever run a pawn shop or any kind of point-of-sale business, that's just too much time. When you encounter a problem, your customers need to have some satisfaction pretty quick. So that became a real problem real fast. There were also limitations with the software. We just could not do some of the things that needed to be done, some changes that needed to be made, and they were just incapable of making those changes. So real quickly, I would say within the first 2 months, we were really dissatisfied with the software.
2 months, and you're already having that many issues?
Yeah. It was really quick, and I would say by 6 months, I was just ready to chuck it all. I was fit to be tied. They had literally stopped returning our calls. So having talked to the Pawn Masters people at a convention before this, I already had Pawn Masters in mind. So we went to the Midwest Pawn Convention again, and intentionally went straight up to their table and started telling them the problems we were having, and he began showing us what Pawn Masters was capable of and what they could do. And by that time, money was no longer a concern. I would have paid twice what you guys were charging to get out of Pawn Wizard.
That's a pretty dramatic statement right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you're business, I don't have a chain of stores. This is my income. I have 5 children. I have people depending upon me, and this is my business. This is my livelihood. I cannot be held hostage by a software program that doesn't work or doesn't do what I need it to do. So, money being a concern, money's always a concern, of course, but I got caught up in being very short-sighted at first about how much I was going to have to come out of pocket, and what I should have been looking at was what this is going to cost overall in the long run.
Sure. And I know that you're on a lot of forums, and people, always try to get you to convert, and you're a very strong advocate now for PawnMaster. What kind of things would you tell them, if you had to do it all over again?
If I had to do it all over again, I would have read more reviews on people that actually used specific software. And, I don't know that there's a perfect program out there, but from what I experienced with Pawn Masters, it does everything we needed to do and has the capability to do more. The thing you guys have going for you, Pawn Masters, that being an Data Age, is the response time. If I have a problem, I know that when I call, you guys are going to get back to me quickly. I have never had to wait longer than a couple hours, and that's very unusual that I would wait that long. Normally, you guys get back really fast, resolve the problem quickly, and so we're very satisfied with Pawn Masters and with Data Age.
Now, I mean, obviously, tech support has been one of your Achilles' heels with all the other software, and you did bring up a good point. We're actually number one in the industry when it comes to getting our customers up and running in the shortest amount of time.
Yes, and that was one of the things that I did not consider when I was starting my shop, was the time that it takes tech support to get back to you is time you are hanging in limbo. So if you have a real critical problem that you can't rectify, a customer doesn't want to be told, well, hey, can you come back tomorrow, or can you come back in 3 days? And then if they're told that, they come back and you still don't have the problem rectified, that's just unacceptable. They're going to go elsewhere, and I can't have that. I need to keep my customers, and I need to gain customers. So this is business is competitive. These are all the things I really didn't consider when I was looking at how much software costs. There is so much more that goes into, keeping your business running. Unless you don't use computers, that is a real huge concern of mine. Obviously, we have, a couple terminals now. I have, 5 total employees. And the flexibility, we went from, 2 people using a terminal to a couple terminals and a few different employees. There was a lot of things that we just didn't understand. And the tech support was great. They were great at explaining that stuff. Not only that, but the community that uses Pawn Masters, even if the tech people who may have never run a pawn business can't answer my question, there are a ton of people that use Pawn Masters that we can call and say, hey, what about this, firearm consignment or whatever it may be, specific questions. The community itself is pretty big, so you can always get your questions answered, not necessarily just by Data Age or the Pawn Master people.
Well, that is very great feedback. Again, we're talking with Louie Lodes from Liberty Pawn. Louie, I really appreciate the time that you spent with us. Any final remarks for anybody that's on the fence? I would say, first of all, to take real good care of choosing your pawn software. It is extremely important, and I would wholeheartedly endorse Pawn Masters and Data Age.